My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. If an American goes over to a foreign country and starts doing business over there, legally, legitimately, or otherwise, it's almost a guaranteed investigation, indictment, and nobody wants to do business with the Americans because of it.
Donald Trump's presidency marked a seismic shift in US foreign policy, a departure from decades of bipartisan consensus on America's role as the global leader. From his unconventional approach to NATO trade wars with China, controversial peace proposals in Ukraine, Trump's decisions have left an indelible mark on international relations. But were they visionary or reckless? How do they shape the world today?
Президент объявил о том, что он хочет добиться мира. Кстати говоря, мы тоже. И как можно быстрее. Действующий глава режима, он стоит на пути к достижению этой цели.
The war in Ukraine, which escalated dramatically after Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022, has become Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II.
Its soldiers are being killed by the thousands on a weekly basis. It's ridiculous. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president. You know, people being killed at levels that you've rarely seen, not even close, since the Second World War.
Over 500,000 casualties have been reported. Millions are displaced, and the economic fallout threatens global stability.
And I'm going to try and get the war settled, and I'm going to try and get all that death ended.
During his 2024 campaign, Donald Trump vowed to end the war within 24 hours if re-elected, pledging direct negotiations with Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky.
A lot of very positive things going to come out of the relationship. So, Vladimir, thank you very much.
While some see this as a pragmatic move to stop bloodshed, critics argue that such talks could legitimize Russian aggression and force Ukraine to cede territory. If Trump negotiates a ceasefire, it may halt immediate hostilities, but could come at a steep price. For example, recognizing Russian control over parts of eastern Ukraine might stabilize the region temporarily but weaken Western credibility.
President Trump is pausing a federal law.
A pause in enforcement of the anti-bribery statute. The enforcement of it is sometimes unfair. That Trump now wants a pause on that.
Passed in 1977, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, or the FCPA, aimed to curb bribery by US companies operating abroad.
Nobody wants to do business with the Americans because of it.
However, enforcement under the Trump administration was criticized for being inconsistent with calls to suspend the law entirely, gaining traction among business leaders frustrated by competitive disadvantages in markets like China, Africa, and the Middle East. Trump argued that strict anti-corruption measures stifled American competitiveness, particularly against Chinese firms unburdened by similar restrictions. Supporters claim relaxing the FCPA would boost exports and job creation. Critics counter that doing so would erode ethical standards and harm long-term US interests. While suspending the FCPA might provide short-term gains for US corporations, it risks damaging alliances built on shared values of accountability and rule of law. Moreover, increased corruption could destabilize fragile economies, creating new challenges for US diplomacy down the line.
NATO members must finally contribute their fair share, but 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying for their defense.
NATO operates on a cost-sharing model, yet the United States contributes nearly 70% of its budget despite accounting for only 4% of member states' combined GDP. This imbalance has fueled resentment among Americans who question why allies don't shoulder more responsibilities.
And many of these nations owe massive amounts of money from past years and not paying in those past years.
Trump famously demanded that all NATO members spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense, threatening to withdraw US support otherwise. Supporters applaud this tough stance, arguing it forces allies to take responsibility. Opponents fear it fractures transatlantic ties and weakens collective security. Achieving equitable funding remains a challenge, but Trump's pressure did prompt several countries, including Germany and Italy, to increase defense budget. Whether this trend continues depends on future US leadership and whether allies view America as a reliable partner. The Israel-Palestine conflict has been one of the most enduring and divisive issues in global diplomacy. During Donald Trump's presidency, his administration took bold steps that dramatically altered US policy towards the region. In December 2017, Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
I recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
A move widely criticized by Palestinians and their allies, who view East Jerusalem as the future capital of Palestinian state. Later in 2020,
Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, they're going to work together. They are friends.
Trump unveiled the Abraham Accords, which normalized relation between the Israel and several Arab states, including the UAE and Bahrain. While hailed as a historic breakthrough, critics argued it sidelined Palestinian aspirations for statehood. Trump framed his policies as pragmatic steps to achieve peace and stability in the Middle East. His administration argued that recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital was long overdue and reflected reality on the ground. Supporters praised the Abraham Accords as a game changer, arguing that economic ties could pave the way for broader peace. Critics, however, accused Trump of abandoning the two-state solution and prioritizing short-term gains over long-term justice. While the Abraham Accords succeeded in forging new alliances, they failed to address core issues like borders, refugees, and the status of Jerusalem. By sidelining Palestinian leadership, Trump's approach deepened divisions and left many feeling disenfranchised. Some analysts warn this could fuel extremism and prolong the conflict. Others argue that economic cooperation among Arab nations and Israel could eventually create conditions for renewed negotiations, but only if trust can be rebuilt.
Because essentially what we're doing with the tariffs is, they charge us, we charge them, same amount. It's called reciprocal, actually. Whatever they charge us, we're charging them.
Donald Trump's trade policies were among the most controversial aspects of his presidency. Central to his approach was the use of tariffs as a tool to address what he called unfair trade practices.
A country pays so much or charges us so much, and we do the same, so very reciprocal. Because I think that's the only fair way to do it.
India, one of America's largest trading partners, became a key target in this strategy. In addition to imposing tariffs on Indian goods like steel, aluminium, and textiles, Trump introduced the concept of reciprocal tariffs, threatening to match the tariff rates India imposed on US exports such as almonds, apples, and Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Trump argued that reciprocal tariffs would level the playing field for American businesses, protecting industries like steel and agriculture from foreign competition. Supporters claimed these measures safeguarded American jobs and reduced trade deficits. Critics, however, warned that retaliatory tariffs could harm US exports and strain alliances. While reciprocal tariffs provided short-term benefits to some industries, they also sparked global trade tensions, leading to higher costs for consumers and businesses. Love him or loathe him, Donald Trump reshaped US foreign policy in ways that still reverberate today. His bold moves challenged norms, sparked fierce debates, and forced us to rethink America's place in the world. So what do you think? Did Trump strengthen America or create new risks? Share your thoughts below.